I know Harry already did this, but I would like for all the gentlemen to stand up. Gentlemen? Only the gentlemen. Only the gentlemen. Turn around to the ladies around you and please give them an applause. Have a seat. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about how the eagle is the only creature that uses a storm to rise above it. And today we're going to be decoding that. It's called an updraft. And the way the updrafts work is that when a storm comes, there's a small updraft of wind. And what the eagle does is he finds this narrow gate within the wind. That specific alignment is what carries him above the clouds, while everybody else, every other animal, including us, looks for shelter. Okay? Now, as Harry was saying, imagine this immense, beautiful eagle looking down and seeing in Calderon Park, and he's seeing all the birds, all the pigeons down there, and he's just saying, that looks comfy. I want to do that instead of flying. So he soars down and eventually forgets what his DNA is, what he's all about, and becomes fat. And becomes, well, a pigeon. So we're going to go into that today, and for that, I ask you to please stand and for the reading of the word. And we're going to be reading out of Luke 12:34, first in English, then in Spanish. And it says, "Wherever your treasure is, there the desire of your heart will also be." En español, donde está tu tesoro, ahí estarán también los deseos de tu corazón. And then we read out of Matthew 7:13 through 14. You can enter God's kingdom only through the narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad, and its gate is wide for the many who choose that way. But the gateway to life is very narrow, and the road is difficult, and only a few ever find it. En español, solo puedes entrar en el reino de Dios por la puerta estrecha. La carretera al infierno es amplia y su puerta es ancha para los muchos que eligen ese camino. Sin embargo, la puerta a la vida es muy estrecha, el camino es difícil y solo unos pocos logran encontrarlo. You may be seated in the presence of our King. Wow, okay. I want to point out just 4 little nuggets at this point from these 2 readings. The first is last week we were seeing the seed. We were learning about the seed. And you can see a seed as a treasure vault. It doesn't grow in every direction. It grows towards the source of life. See, your heart is a compass that follows the investment. Your investment. If your heart feels scattered, it's because your treasure, your time, your focus, and your resources is in too many places. In Spanish, we say, el que mucho abarca, poco aprieta, which basically means if your attention is scattered everywhere, you're not going to be focused in anything. Okay? So you don't have a heart problem, you have a planting problem. Plant your treasure in the kingdom, and your heart will find its way home. Amen?
Amen.
Now, the eagle that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, you see, the wide road is full of turbulence and wind resistance, but the eagle seeks The short and narrow thermal, the one that puts it above the storm. That specific column of rising air. So how does that apply to us? Well, to the birds on the ground, to those pigeons around there, it might seem like the eagle is lonely, but he's not. He's specialized. You cannot soar in a crowd. And I know that sounds funny, but it's true. If you're surrounded by a crowd, you're in the wrong place if you want to fly, if you want to soar. The narrow gate is the only place where the wind of the Spirit has enough lift to carry your weight. 4 weeks ago, we saw the lion. And we saw that the lion doesn't hunt the whole herd. When the lion's going in for the kill, what he does is separates the zebra from the rest. So, if the lion narrows its vision until the rest of the world disappears, why would you be trying to focus on everything? Success in the kingdom requires the narrow vision of the lion. If you try to be everything to everyone, you will accomplish nothing for not only anyone, but you won't accomplish anything for the king. You will only be a people pleaser. Ouch. I know, that hurt. I can feel the hurt from somebody. But you're only going to be a people pleaser. And you will accomplish nothing for anybody. That a people pleaser pleases no one and accomplishes nothing. So, an ambassador doesn't have the luxury of a wide road of personal opinion. Any ambassador from any country in this world never speaks on his behalf. If you look at news clippings, if you see YouTube videos, you will never see an ambassador speak on his own behalf. He always speaks in the name of the country he represents. So we don't say what we feel, we say what the government decrees. This limitation of not actually speaking our own, but speaking on behalf of, it might seem like a limitation, but it's actually your power, our power. Because if an ambassador does and says what he wants, he loses all power. But when he speaks in the name of the kingdom, of the country he represents, then, well, everybody's going to listen. And when you stay on the narrow road of the word, you carry the weight of the full authority of the kingdom.
Amen.
And of the king.
Amen.
Amen? So ambassadors, don't be afraid of the narrow seasons. Don't be afraid of the moments where it feels like the road is difficult and the gate is small. The narrowness isn't a prison. It's the king filtering out all that pigeon DNA that you have around you so that your resurrection DNA can finally take over. You are being specialized for a high altitude deployment. And if you want to find your heart, look at where you've placed your treasure. If you want to find your life, find the narrow gate. Amen?
Amen.
Amen.